When you go to Bootstrap's website, you will see these words on the front page. Responsive, mobile first. What do these words mean in web development? Well, back in the dark ages before smartphones, most people browsed the web using only their computers. Back then, web pages were designed with a large screen size in mind. Nowadays, people still access the web using their computers. But increasingly, they're using mobile devices such as smartphones and tablets. In the US today, more than half of website visits are from mobile devices, and that number is projected to keep increasing. Many people only access the web with their phones and do not use their computers at all. Websites used to be developed for computers first and foremost, then a mobile version would be created almost as an afterthought. Times have changed, and there has been a shift to creating websites for the mobile version first in mind, then adjusting it to look good on larger screens. And that's the basic idea of mobile-first design. Responsive web design is a related concept. A responsive site is one that will dynamically adjust its content based on your device. That means that the same page will automatically resize and shift its contents to best fit the current device, even hiding or revealing some content. So you're not creating one web page for a smartphone, another for a tablet, and another for a desktop. You just create one web page and it changes depending on the device. Let's look at a real-world example using the official Bootstrap website. Let me show you a developer tool that helps you test out what a web page will look like on different devices. I'll open my Chrome Developer Tools. You can use Command-Option-J on macOS or F12 on Windows. If you're using Firefox, it's Command-Option-I for macOS and still F12 for Windows. And here, click on this icon to open the Toggle Device toolbar in Chrome. On Firefox, it's called Responsive Design Mode, but the icon should look the same. Now you can select different devices and your browser will show you what your page would look like on that device. Let's see how this web page would look on an iPad Pro. It looks different, but it's actually the same web page that's dynamically reconfigured itself to deliver the most optimized view for each viewport size. And here's the same website as it would appear on a Pixel 2. For example, you can see that this column has been stacked on top for the smaller viewport instead of trying to squeeze it in the same way. And this whole navigation menu is now collapsed and can be toggled, visible, or hidden. And this doesn't happen by magic, it's not automatic. The front-end developer for this web page had to think about this and make conscious decisions about what they wanted to include or not include in each viewport. Then they had to use responsive web design tools to make that happen. And there's that word viewport that I promised you I would come back to in the last lesson. What is your viewport? In the simplest terms, it's a visible area of a web page in a browser given in width and height in pixels. However, you'll find that it's not always the same as your screen resolution. For example, the screen resolution of an iPhone X is 1125 by 2436 pixels, but its viewport size is 375 by 812 pixels. That's because screen resolution also takes into account something called pixel density, or PPI, pixels per inch. I'm not going to dive deep into this right now. I'd just like you to understand that the resolution of a screen is not always the same as the viewport, especially on mobile devices. Furthermore, your viewport is only the part of your browser window where the web page content is visible, not the entire window. That means it's not counting the part of your window that's taken up by things like the scroll bar, the address bar, the bookmarks bar, the downloads bar. All that extra stuff isn't counted as part of the viewport. You can find some links to explore this concept in the additional resources section of this lesson. In the last exercise, we had you add this viewport meta tag. This viewport value here is new in HTML5. It initializes a web page to be optimized for multiple device sizes. It gives the browser instructions on how to control the page's dimensions and scaling. It sets the web page's width to be the width of the current device being used to view the page. And it sets the current scale to 1, which is the initial zoom level of the web page. This will be the typical way to set up your viewport meta tag. There may be cases in which you want to use different values, but that will be rare. Let's look at another example. Here's a simple web page with an image link and some filler text. I've commented out the viewport meta tag here. Let's look at it in the browser, and here's how it looks on my laptop screen. And I'll use the developer tools to look at this in a smaller viewport. It looks okay in the large viewport, but not so much in the smaller one. Now I'll go and uncomment this tag, and let's look at it again. You can see how it has automatically sized itself to look good on both viewports. Next, I'm going to talk about media queries and breakpoints. Once the viewport meta tag is set, your web page can now use media queries. Media queries are a powerful new concept in CSS3 and a fundamental concept of responsive web design. Media queries let you access the current size of the viewport and to set up different sets of CSS rules based on the current size using the @media rule. Media queries have many uses, but one of the most important is their use in setting up breakpoints. A breakpoint is a custom viewport width at which you want to change the appearance of the website. For example, it might say, when the viewport for a device is above a certain width, then put 2 columns side by side and show this text menu. When it's below a certain width, then stack the columns and hide the menu. Bootstrap has done most of the hard work for you when it comes to media queries and breakpoints. You do not actually have to configure any media queries at all in Bootstrap. You can use the ones that Bootstrap has already set up for you. Bootstrap by default has breakpoints set up for small, medium, large, and extra large, which are configured to be 576, 768, 992, and 1200 CSS pixels respectively. Again, you don't have to set up the breakpoints yourself, you just have to learn how to use the Bootstrap classes that use these breakpoints, such as this one, col_excel. I will show you how to do that later. To recap, Bootstrap is a framework built on mobile-first, responsive design principles. Mobile-first means that you design and develop with the mobile version first, then expand from there to change the presentation for larger versions. Responsive design means that you code your site using tools such as the viewport meta tag, media queries, and responsive images so that the same web page will render a different, optimized view for different devices. These principles are built into Bootstrap.